Many voters will be asked to pay more in taxes to fund expanding public safety.
So if you live in Germantown, Cedarburg, Grafton, Saukville, Port Washington, town of Delafield or Jefferson, you will see a referendum when you cast your vote on April 2nd.
But the issue of public safety funding is not limited to those communities. All afternoon, we've heard from people in different parts of southeast Wisconsin about the impact these referendums can have. We'll begin in Port Washington, a live look at the W.J. Niederkorn Library, where a listening session on a firefighter referendum will happen at 5:30.
That referendum will ask voters to increase the fire department staff by adding 9 full-time positions. The annual impact on taxpayers would come out to be $91 for every $100,000 of property value.
We wanted to get a sense of how people feel about this referendum ahead of tonight's session.
Andrea Albers takes us to Port Washington.
What I'm learning is that the strain is felt more intensely in tight-knit communities with smaller fire departments like Port Washington. Still, some people don't want to see a bigger tax bill.
When you're talking about increasing their taxes, everybody's apprehensive about that. You know, being a community member and living here myself, I'm apprehensive about that.
But Deputy Fire Chief Joe Deboer wants you to think of the referendum like an insurance policy.
Nobody wants to call an ambulance. Nobody wants to have the fire department respond to their house, so you don't want to think about having to pay for it. But when you need those services, you want them there. You want them there right away.
In 2022, calls for service shot up 53%, while staffing dropped 23%. Right now, there are just 5 full-time staff members.
We're calling in mutual aid. That means the response time to get here from Saukville or Fredonia or Grafton to help us cover those calls doubles.
And a lot of those departments that you call on for help are dealing with this very same issue.
Absolutely.
We didn't have to look far to find a literal sign of support.
What kind of reaction has the sign gotten from customers?
I've had very positive reaction.
If Tom Charbonneau isn't behind the jewelry counter, he might be in a fire truck.
Love doing it, so still got a few years left in me.
He's been an on-call member of the Port Washington Fire Department for 42 years.
You know firsthand on both sides of this just how important this is.
Yes.
He is a responder, but he's also had to dial 911.
There was one time where my dad fell over and he injured his head pretty good.
Port Washington's fire department was already maxed out, so Grafton was called in for mutual aid, and that took longer.
When you have staffing at the station, you're getting out of the door within 60 to 90 seconds, and you have the wheels turning.
And those seconds matter.
Big time. Very much so.
I stopped at another business on Main Street displaying a sign in support of the referendum. They told me this community is growing quickly and emergency services need to grow too. In Port Washington, Andrea Albers, TMJ4 News.